started my last video.
Okay.
What up, Chance? What up, fam? Man, only one thumbs down. That's it.
You'll get some more.
I already know that, man. The hate is real.
Okay. So
that's
now,
perfect. That's
just,
perfect.
but it's perfect here. But how does it look?
I mean, over there, it's a little bit on your side, just a hair, but just don't even worry about it. I'm saying we could fool with that all night.
Yeah, because this was really meant for the other room.
Right.
But the one that's in New York, it's meant for this room.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So excuse the backdrop, but you know. Hey, Erwin. Okay, we got 108 people. Can we start the sweetest sounds melodiously that your vibe and your body has ever heard in your lifetime? Ever.
Go ahead, start it.
Let me pull up the sweetest, the most melodious sounds your eardrum have ever heard.
That's not the. That's actual show. You play actual show. That's.
George, too bad. Man, what do y'all think about the new vibe? Y'all like this?
I think I'll change it again.
Really?
To the longer one, yeah.
I'm digging the new scenery. I see bombs on deck. Befitting. But I have to digress. Tonight's very special because we've been away for a long time. We're back. We did a little video earlier just to test a new setup. And this show's going to be long. So
it is?
It is. It's got a lot of words in this.
Okay.
Okay? So if you're not someone who's totally into the dinar, you're a passive investor, you're somebody who looks at this from a very superficial standpoint, you may want to check out now.
Okay.
But if you're somebody that's in the investment, that understands the background, the foreground, basic relationship of the players, this is for you.
So are we not taking questions this show?
We taking questions.
Because we got some already.
They can ask.
You ready? You want me to?
Yeah, shoot.
Okay. Let's see here. Robin wants to know, are we seeing any outside investments into Iraq?
Outside investments in Iraq? Yeah, China being the major one, up to 500 trillion. You're looking at a bunch of other countries erasing their debt. You're also looking at them having a GDP growth, I know, which is not, trade, but of about almost 9%. They're looking on top of the world right now.
Alawi for the next PM?
Hell no. No, we don't want Alawi for the next PM. Mustafa, or we want to see Ali Allah.
Mustafa, is that a super chic?
Super chic or Mustafa.
There was another question I saw, and then
that's all I want to see. An independent from Shia or from Iranian influence. There's only two that I've seen.
Will Iraq go back to the April to March fiscal year?
Never have been. Their fiscal year has always been based upon the new principal year, which started in January. Nothing's ever changed.
Okay.
You want to do your introduction?
I'm April Beebe.
And in the new studio, I am Mr. Brando! And I'm in a library full of books. And guess what? Welcome to the status of the reinstatement of the Iraqi Dinar.
Steve-O said you got my grandma's shares. You can always depend on Steve-O to have some funny, humorous words.
Steve-O!
I am Steve-O!
You're already, man. I like it. My grandma's shares. They ain't in plastic though, Steve-O, so you know they ain't your grandma's shares.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Zinger!
Alright, man, look. Can I get to this report or not?
Go for it.
Okay. I have to read it because I wrote it out, okay? So this report will ask what happens next to the effort of the IRGC, QF, and Iran-backed militias in Iraq now that their central nervous system has been severely disrupted. Even before killing of Soleimani and al-Mohandes, the latest few months have been very bruising for the militias, both in terms of popular and elite dismay at their counter-protest actions and as a result of U.S. airstrikes. So case in point, the U.S. has been having airstrikes against Iran, okay? It's been going on before October.
Right.
So a lot of people don't understand or don't realize at this point that there's been a war, and not by proxy by Iran, but not by the United States. But there's been a lot going on in the insides of Iraq that we didn't know as being investors, okay?
Okay.
The Iranian and the militia project in Iraq, and it occurred after months of anti-government protest, had already shaken the militia tower in control of the Iraqi state. Before the protest, al-Muhajandis, al-Mohandes, and the Iraq militias were at the zenith of their power. They controlled the prime minister's office, dominated any security portfolios they selected, and also positioned to divert value from any major economic ventures to Iraq militias, thus added the military status of the Iran Revolutionary Guard and the Hezbollah to the rank of Iraqi military status. This unnatural level of consolidation was built and substantiated by Soleimani and al-Mohandes. Their removal, in combination with the resistance from the protesters, is the only reason, and the removal of al-Mohandes, that you and I are sitting here right now today with the hopes of an investment. And dig that for what it really is. Because right now, you are sitting at the cusp of real greatness. And not because I tell you so, but because al-Mohandes was the dirtiest SOB in the book. August 2019, just as Iran-backed militias in Iraq achieved the zenith of their power, there were several interviews of senior political leaders in Baghdad. The Iraqi Prime Minister's office, also referred to as the PMO, was dominated by two twin influences. One, Qasim al-Salami, and two, Abdul Mahdi al-Mohandes, with a pro-IRGC QF official, ABDU Abdul Jihad. His given name was Muhammad al-Hashimi. And they installed this person as the Prime Minister Chief of Staff. These are the people that really truly run Iraq. Not Mahdi, not Maliki, not these other morons that you people hear rhetoric about. Well, until the Iranian influence is out of there. No. Until a person named Hashimi, who fled to Iran recently, was removed. Soleimani's death, things have begun to change. It is one of the most important and most dangerous Iranian-backed Shiite factions, with the Iranian Quds Force undertaking its funding and training, There is no leadership. There is no known leadership. However, the organizational structure represented by the consultative council and political council, a guy named Ibrahim or Mohandas, is seen as responsible for the establishment of the group, which is the strongest military presence inside of Iraq. And according to information that the Imam says, one of the most prominent of the leaders of Hezbollah, the Lebanese shares, is in Iraq and shares a large armed faction within that group. Al-Mohandes had effectively sown distrust between Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi and his non-militia security forces, creating concern that the Counterterrorism Service and the Iraqi National Intelligence Service was plotting against the Prime Minister. Now notice now why the protesters select Mustafa as one of the candidates for PM, because he's always had a suspicion against Mahdi and his Iranian ties. Based upon a significant number of interviews and many dozens of conversations, there is a true sense that Al-Mohandes became the embodiment of the central nod of the IRGC QF influences in Iraq in 2019. In my opinion, the best way to express the permanent position that Mohandes achieved by the time of his death is that he was widely perceived within Iraq's political scene or the elite political factions inside of Iraq to be Iran's military governor, controlling a puppet civilian government at its head. Notice you do not hear the words Maliki nor Amiri, only Mohandes. He's the black mask. He's the guy behind the veil. Along with Soleimani, those are the true people that were in charge of Iraq. They ran the proxy government, okay? The Iran-backed militias were also dominant in business affairs, directly benefiting themselves, Iranian interests, and Lebanese Hezbollah. The U.S. designated terrorist, the founder, Al-Aman Ali, he runs the Popular Mobilization Brigade, has become one of the richest men in Iraq, with a sprawling business empire and controlling interest over the Ministry of Communication. Major militia leaders leverage their muscle to build large real estate portfolios. Hezbollah pigtailed their economic dominance to becoming involved in numerous Iraqi contract awards. Through the partnership between the Iran-allied Iraqi politicians and specially designated global terrorist Mohammed al-Kawtharani and Adnan Hussein Kawtharani. At least 4 private banks run by militia-controlled businessmen continue to use the Central Bank of Iraq in the dollar auctions to secure hard currency for Iran. Also note that people look so feverishly for the Q cards. Mm-hmm. The Q card payment system used to pay government salaries was perpetrated by the militias, who inserted fake employees in an electronic system and skimmed their allocated salaries in schemes that cost Iraq millions of dollars each month. The militias controlled small oil fields such as NAJ, MAQAYYARA, PULKHANNA, and Alas. Militia-controlled logistics and shipping companies in Basra provided company for the smuggling of sanctioned Iranian crude. The crude was being loaded and shipped to Iran to be sold on the black market. At parts in the free trade zones, the militia exported the crude oil. The products were stolen. They dominated customs. They levied their taxes in and out of the countries. Basically, the militias ran roughshod over the Iraqi government. And to boot, an Iraq-backed border organization, former head of intelligence, Ali Taqi, took over the director of the Baghdad International Airport System and transferred the Baghdad handling concept from a contract to a front company controlled by a U.S. designated terrorist company by Kataib al-Hezbollah. So you could look at that point from saying a blacklist to fronted or from involvement to not, whatever you want to say. In 2019 September, the Iran-backed militias also had curtailed the U.S.-led coalition's effectiveness in helping Iraq's fight against Islamic State by professionalizing the Iraqi security forces. March of 2019 onward, in response to al-Mahdi's instruction, the chairman of the Popular Mobilization Forces, or also called the PMF, al-Fayyad cut off the coalition's access to predominantly Sunni tribal mobilization forces. See now why a non-Iranian PM tied right now is prominent. It's important. Who had previously been an important source of intelligence and operational partnership in the Islamic State redoubts like Nividans and Anbar. From about the same time, Badr took over the Iraqi Civil Aviation Authority and began closing airspace to coalition surveillance flights. While flying flights over to Syria, allowing the urgency to benefit not only the economic prowess of the IRGC, but also the strategic advantage of the IRGC over its enemies in Syria. Do you not see how important that I'm talking about the IRGC had a veil over because of Mahdi and because of Soleimani inside of Iraq? Not Maliki, not Amiri. Those people are gone. Mm-hmm. Change is happening. The only way to show prudence to this fact right now is to equate it to what? Civil rights. There's a revolution going on inside of Iraq, y'all. I hope you're watching. I hope you're actually watching the news for what it is, because the actual news is not the news you're reading. The actual news that you're reading is actually incorrect. 90% of the news that you get about Iraq is wrong. You need to follow blogs and Twitter. That's the truth. My favorite guru, your favorite guru, my favorite news source is something I've had to learn to abandon. I've had to learn to look to counterintelligence agencies as far as the United States, as well as Iran, as well as Iraq, for information to truly see what's going on inside of the country, to shape what's going on. And if you don't understand that, then you truly are lost in the investment. Okay? In September 2019, the Iran-backed militias also curtailed the U.S. coalition's effectiveness. But meanwhile, Iran-backed militias used their control of the PMU, or the PMO, that's the Prime Minister's office, by the way, to remove some of Iraq's most seasoned soldiers, including Iraq's most enamored combat commander, Counterterrorism Command Staff Lieutenant General Abdullah Wahab al-Sadadi. Considering the balance of power in Iraq, I assess that the conventional military was likely to face a future of declining budget share and declining influence compared to al-Mahdi's politically dominated Iran-backed PMF. Remember when they inducted the PMF inside of the Iraqi military? When they did that, they effectively inserted the Iran-backed militia system inside of Iraq. You need bombs.
Oh, do I need to be the bomb?
I'll tell you when you gotta hit the bombs. You gotta keep this thing open. Hit bombs now. Bombs away! Understand what I'm saying. They controlled the Prime Minister's office. The meetings were held by al-Mahdi, supported by his punitive boss, al-Fayyad, and the PMO's Abdul Jihad. He was an ex-senior in line. And Abdul, Muntadher and Al-Husseini, birth name Tassin Abdid Mutar, Al-Abboudi, a battered veteran, former PMU chief, operations current advisor for the PMF affairs to the PMO. Also Husseini, birth name, a veteran militiaman, and now head of the Prime Minister's Interior Rapid Response Division. They infiltrated every aspect of the cabinet and its sources as far as military, air, transportation, communication. Do you not see why you can't pick a prime minister at this very moment? Because if they did, they'd pick incorrectly. Our investment will be dead. And people don't understand the severity of what I'm talking about. Because all you care about is a date or a rate, but you don't do the background check to understand where you are. The names of the military leaders, divisions, and areas they were responsible for the airstrike. I could have named them, I named them before. Mahanda's own personal cadre took care of much of the operational management of the crackdown on the protesters. Notice what I just said. Mahanda's his own personal cadre. The people that were killed with those exploding that were killing those people to the head, all that stuff was all Mahanda's. He's gone. That's the architect. He's the day-to-day operative. His lead guy is a guy named Abdu, Zainal-Lami. Birth name, Hussein, Falahallami, the head of the Security National Division of the PMF. He relied on two assistants, a guy named Abdul Bakir and a guy named Mustafa. Abdul Aman Abali, the head of the PMF Intelligence Directorate, collates hits of the civil society activists and journalists in partnership with the IRGC-QF cyber intelligence officials and 19-person Baghdad-based cell of Lebanese Hezbollah media operatives. On the ground, tactical leadership in Baghdad was also provided by a commander who was highly visible in ordering around Iraqi security forces international zone. Another senior commander of KHURASANI held down protests in southern Baghdad. AA8 seemed to focus on Majan and Badr handled the deep south, and Basra and Dekar. They are organized, they were intent, and guess what? They handled their business. They don't have the leadership that they had a few moments ago. IRGC-QF militia control of the PMO, carefully crafted over the prior year, began to unravel in the face of strong domestic criticism by the Shia religious leadership, the Sadrists, and the protesters, plus international condemnation. Prime Minister Mahandi's resignation was accepted by Parliament on December 9, 2019. He was a sacrificial lamb and the only thing that kept this investment going alive as we are sitting here today. His resignation resurrected our investment. Because if that asshole was still prime minister right now, you and I would be sitting on worthless toilet paper because he had no intentions with his relationship with Soleimani to ever reinsert the currency. And I don't care what anybody tells you about any financial management law, what stage is being set, any bullshit that you hear. This is actually the truth. Believe it, don't believe it, write it off. But this is the background and the shadow government that really ran the government. And I'm sorry to break it down like this, but I have to show you how they were removed so you will know how the oppressors will now set us free. Because every day that Saleh does not pick a new prime minister because of these assholes like Sadr and Amiri and Nuri and all these other people is a day that I rejoice in. Because I know he's not picking a wrong choice. Before Mahandi left his position, he crafted a budget with a deficit concisely to promote two things. One was the employment law. Two was employing the PMU, the Popular Mobilization Organization. He made sure to sink the government in debt and bankruptcy the coffers behind those two organizations because he had a personal relationship with Soleimani. When Soleimani flew to Iraq, he personally met with al-Mahdi. They were friends. That's why he personally wept. That's why he personally set 3 days of consolement for him. They were friends, real friends, beyond what you people picture to be friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. Within the inner circles of the Iraqi and U.S. governments, it was understanding that the IRGC-QF, working through Mohandas, had placed a prohibition on attacks likely to kill U.S. forces. In responses to the U.S. Secretary Mike Pompeo's warning on May 7, 2019, that the retaliation would strike Iranian interests in Iraq. In the first 10 months of 2019, 32 attacks were undertaken by Iranian-backed militias on the U.S. You never heard about that. You never heard about 32 attacks by the Iran-backed militia against the U.S. Why is that so prominent now? Because they're trying to provoke what? A world war. The only thing the Trump administration, in my mind, has actually got right is the handling of the Middle East and China. He's got a lot of things screwed up. But his handling of trade and his handling of the Middle East has been spot on.
But that's two big things.
Huge. Huge to you and to I.
Yeah.
Now, there were no casualty in those 32 airstrikes. But they say the rockets that were used were there were 22 107 millimeter rockets per issue. In November 2019 and onward, perhaps related to the seriousness of political crisis in Iraq, Lebanon, and increasingly within Iran itself, according to my interviews and according to my intellect and my research, cabinet level and below, the prevalent impression with the government is that Iran and the Iranian militia leaders generally view the protest as a foreign plot because they take their direction from Khomeini and their source, because all those 50 militia groups, besides the one Christian group, basically got the information from Khomeini, was that it was a foreign plot against Iran. That's why they hated us. That's why they're so willing to kill the Iranians. It's not that they want to kill their countrymen, but they felt that they were in substitute for our Americans.
Mm-hmm.
The malicious attacks on U.S. bases became more reckless, including a heavy rocket attack, at least 17 munitions on coalition forces at QAYYAR West Air Base on November. Later, 2 attacks on coalition forces in Baghdad on December 9th, 11th. Used 240 millimeter rockets on December 27th. Another 15 rocket salvo killed U.S. contractor K-1 base in Kirkuk. You never heard about those other rocket attacks. All you ever heard about was that one killing, which provoked the killing of Soleimani. On December 29th, the United States unleashed what was likely pre-vetted response operations because of pretense attacks against U.S. interests. The site appears to have been sites that the Hezbollah used for transfer of missiles. And inside that, they killed 5 Hezbollah people. The airstrikes, not highly publicized, were extremely effective and crucially in taking a Hezbollah operative. 25 Hezbollah members were killed and over 50 wounded on December 29th. The dead, including 4 mid-level leaders. This was the heaviest single-day casualty taken by Hezbollah throughout its decades-plus existence. Again, major blows to Iran. It boots out it kicks out the boots on the ground influence. Iran-backed militias on December 31st in a show of force against the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, where nearly all major Iranian-backed militia leaders were present. For the last time, as it turned out, Secretary Pompeo identified them. Mohandas, K-A-Z-A-L-I, Fayyad, Badr, Amiri, organized the attacks. U.S. Department designated AAH as a foreign terrorist organization and designated Khazali and his brother, especially designated global terrorist. Soleimani and Mohandas are dead, and ASA/IB, al-HAQ, and its leaders were sanctioned as terrorists. Beyond Washington, the reverberations were even more consequential, upending the balanced power among Iran-backed militias and between Iran-backed militias and the political factions inside of Iraq. There's a disconnect between the Iraqi politicians and what's going on inside of Iraq. Two giants of the Iraqi militia scene, Soleimani and Mohandas, were deeply and clearly and shockingly the true leaders behind the Iraqi political scene. As there has been the case when faced with prior calamities, such as the successful counter-militia operative by U.S. military factions to vote out the U.S. coalitions, they were barely able to muster enough people without those two leaders to get quorum. And without that, you notice that Mohandas, without to put the foot in their ass, or Salami not to threaten or to kidnap their people, they were unable to actually set foot to what they truly want to do. I hope now you honestly and truly understand a little bit where we're going. Mohandas, he was a truly unique individual. He cannot be easily replaced. His stature far outweighed any single militia or political leader inside of Iraq, in part due to the strong backing he received from Soleimani and Khomeini, but due to his personal charismatic and his history. Mohandas was more effective, intelligent, intimidating than any political leader inside of Iraq, contemporary or thenceforth. His old batter subordinate, Hadi al-Amiri, is nothing more than a gnat's ass compared to Mohandas, and neither is Nur al-Maliki. His seniority was grudgingly recognized by veteran fighters like Husseini, Shelbani, respected by young guns like Walani, Kababi, Sadrist, and Sadr himself. Neither Amiri nor Mustaq al-Sadr is skilled enough or feared enough or well respected enough to marshal a 50-plus faction of the PMF. And notice recently that Sadr threw up his hands. His most prominent leaders left him. When I tell you these things, it's not because I'm worried. It's because these reports tell the truth. Hit a bomb. Hit bombs. Without leadership, there's disarray. And you know what the fundamental thing to faith is? It's conviction. So when I tell people I'm not sold, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. You ain't got to ask me because I know. I read it every day. Nobody else reads this stuff, but I do.
You're in the library reading.
Should ask them, do you guys got questions?
Yeah,
or do you want me to stop?
Go
ahead, let's go through some questions.
Okay.
I got a lot. I could do 2 shows. I might have to do a show tomorrow just to finish this show. I'm dead serious.
So you kind of cleared up the PM, right?
Right.
Because there was a lot of questions out here about the PM earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to, like Neo said, can you clear up who the PM will be?
Who we want to be is Mustafa or the Sheik. One of the two.
Super Sheik.
The Super Sheik.
The Super Freak Sheik. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Alawi is already rejected. That's Josh.
We know that.
Comment.
Yep.
He just made that comment. Yep. I heard that at the end of the first quarter that they have the option to renew and alter the budget that was previously passed for the first quarter. Do we know if there are any is there any validity to that?
No, none. I haven't heard that, and nor can I prove it.
Okay. Wait, I thought Iraq's fiscal year was the same as Kuwait's in 1975, which was
not true at all. That is BS. We've been over this 100 times. We Googled it.
So
I'll Google it right now.
Well, so basically, it's the same as the United
It
States.
is exactly the same. Whoever's telling you that, ask them to Google it. Iraq fiscal year. This is Google. Don't believe me. Okay?
I think it ends in December, right?
It ends in December.
Because I recall that question before in a prior live. Do you think ISIS is affecting the smaller notes?
Yeah, because they have the opportunity to steal them. If they did, or the coins, and that's where you saw them trying to replicate coins in the marketplace before, because they don't know what the coins actually are, but they are trying to replicate them and pass them in the marketplace as holding some value. See, the problem with the currency right now is not the value of the dinar. The problem with the currency is that they use government to government transfers of money in dollars, not in dinar. If they use dinar to dinar, like if I'm buying something from the United States and I transferred money from dinar into SWIFT, it transferred to dollars, they transfer it over into dollars, right? That would be good. But what they do is they use dollars to transfer money over to another dollar. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They need to stop using the US dollar as the basis to their economy and stop using the auctions as a crutch.
Is Alawi really stepping in for a bit as a temporary PM?
No.
Or is that fake news?
Fake.
Okay.
You guys gotta tell me. I might have to finish this show up tomorrow for all these questions because we're going real long.
Or just next week, because yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
we'll have more news. We'll have to figure it out.
Hold on.
I'm not trying to cut everybody short.
We got 108 people.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to give you the questions. I'm starting back from the beginning. So once Mr. Potato Head flees, we know we're good, right?
Mr. Potato's already fled. He's in a caretaker government. He has no real power. He can't do anything.
He's in Iran, right? Is that what I heard?
No, Mr. Potato. You're talking about Nur Maliki.
Oh. Mr. Potato Head flees the country. Does that mean they are coming after him, or do we see a scenario where the new PM doesn't come after him?
Well, it doesn't. You don't know, honestly, because think about it. He's been going back and forth to Iran. He's had Iranian ties for years. Him going back and forth for Iran is like me and you going back and forth to Pasadena.
Okay. Someone posted on Facebook earlier today that Saleh, S-A-L-E-H, how is that? Saleh was going to announce the Super Sheik as the interim PM. Is this true or fake news?
We were hoping that was true news. We were hoping.
Is he good or Iranian puppet?
No, he's good. He's a libertarian. He's also a moderate that is a denouncing of Sadr and Amiri, especially Nur al-Maliki. He's threatened Sadr to hang him from the caverns.
So he's an independent thinker.
Yes.
He's not.
Yeah, he is not for Iran at all.
He's not for the BS. Okay. Think the Middle East deal signed yesterday plays into this investment at all?
No, because the Middle East really only benefited on the surface level Israel. You see what I'm saying? It gave them prudence. It gave them jurisdiction and territory. It didn't really involve the Palestine. So it really, was a counter-terrorist or, involvement, but it helped Israel. And that's not a bad thing, but it doesn't help us.
Okay. Any news or updates on the Dom?
Yeah, that they say that the agreement should be in enforcement in a little while, and that with that you will see the enforcement, you will see things to change. That's what they said.
The yuan is down because of the coronavirus effect. Okay,
Yeah, the markets are down because of the coronavirus. You saw that. Everybody saw that. It affected NASDAQ, the Dow, everything.
He said, Max Play said the yuan, I'm speaking of the yuan moves up, so shall the dong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happened to all the heavy equipment that was shipped to Iraq to help rebuild?
You saw the oil and gas convention that's about to come up here on the 24th. It's coming up pretty quick. Oil and gas summit that's about to come up. You will see then probably the fulfillment of those contracts. And at that point, we can assess how they're going to pay for it.
How long will there be a caretaker government?
Until they elect a new PM. And that new PM either gets rid of the proxies and the whole cabinet and the CBI, or decides to roll with them and change things.
Can you walk us through a scenario?
I can walk you through several. Just tell me what.
Yeah, Sullivan asked what scenario? Let's see. Marcus says, so once a good PM gets in, what happens in the Iranian-backed puppet in Parliament?
Well, they
How
run.
do you get rid of them?
Well, the very first thing you have to do is, if there are two managers running the CBI and not a lock, you instantly hire a CBI governor that's not of of Shiite, or you think of Iranian influence. The next thing you do is go through and you say, you know what, I'm going to fire the whole cabinet and start over.
Mr. B, is Sadr going to lead the elite for Iran?
He's going to definitely make a play, and the report tells about that the IRGC did already meet with him, and that's why you see the political shift from him supporting the protesters to unsupporting the protesters. And that's all inside that report. That's phase 2 of it.
Okay, so here's your scenario. PM is named. What are the next steps between that and me going to the exchange my money at the bank?
Fire the CBI governor and hire a new one. Either elect a new cabinet or get a new one. And they said off by odds that you could hire a new cabinet within 30 minutes. So you tell me, elect a new PM, and then we go forward.
When do you think they'll elect a new PM?
As soon as Saleh feels that he's protected by the United States coalition forces and Halabasi, and that the choice that will be made will suffice the actual protesters. Because you got to make the protesters feel safe and warm. If the protesters don't feel good, they won't elect a new PM. I see early elections before a new PM if that happens.
Okay. Hey, Robert G. Okay. Mr. Brando, do you believe that the president of Iraq will end up placing a new prime minister himself on Saturday?
Well, see, here's the thing. Someone asked me earlier, why is Saleh the end-all be-all? Because he's the acting prime minister. So if you go back to constitutional value, if he's acting prime minister, by default, he's in charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they hire a new prime minister, then yeah, I see things changing. If you don't see a new PM, there's no changing.
Okay.
Because Saleh's already told you he's not making any moves.
Neo says those auctions need to stop.
Well, the auctions have to stop, but they won't stop until they realize that a new CBI governor is in place to stop the Iranian influence from siphoning the money out of Iraq into Iran.
Marcus said, I thought Halabusi was bad.
Halabusi was thought to be bad because the way he got hired. But Halabusi's proven to be a real good snitch because he runs back and forth from the United States and tells us everything we need to know. And I think he's the real person that was behind the killing of Soleimani, if you want my honest opinion. But you know.
So you think he was a dime dropper?
Yeah, he dropped the dime.
So he's the narc for the United States?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Him and Saleh are both snitches, I think, in my opinion.
Okay.
They're for the United States totally. Because they understand the bigger picture. And they have Saleh's whole bigger picture is he's going to go back to lead the second largest group in Kirkuk, right? Mm-hmm. His job solidified. Halabusi has thoughts of being the House Speaker again or Prime Minister. So for him to snitch on Soleimani was no skin off his nose. He wasn't in those meetings.
Danny says February 1st for a new government.
It could be. And what if it's February 7th?
Yeah, Max Play said they out here dime dropping.
Yeah, they're snitching. Listen, it's no unheard of thing when people from Iraq dropped and joined the IRGC that the IRGC told them the very first thing you got to tell me is everything you did, you got to tell on your own government and the United States coalition forces. Why is it so subsequently crazy to think that the very next thing they're going to tell on is the reverse? Sunnis and the Christians don't like the Shia influence. Way worse than the Shiites that are protesting like it. Because the youth that are actually protesting, they not only don't like it, they're sick of it. And they're willing to lay down their lives to change it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say, look, it's a revolution. This is a civil right for them. They're not trying to say elect a better Shia. They're trying to say elect a fair and impartial government. Mm-hmm. Totally different scenario. That's what keeps me and you in the game. Without that, there's no game.
Game over.
Ove.
Okay. 3 days. That's what Danny says. I really look up to these Iraqi people for what they have done.
Me too. How many of you believe so severely in what you're doing that you're willing to live your life that you'll die for it?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to really say that. I mean, I'm just being honest. People talk to talk, but a lot of people don't walk that walk.
Mm-hmm. Nicole says snitches apparently don't get stitches.
No, they get promoted. And that's in all factions and all governments around the world.
And corporate
Just
America.
in corporate America. Just watch the news. It's the truth.
Massive balls. The revolution will not be televised. Is there any scenario where it will get to the point that Americans would clear out the green zone and take over?
Yeah. A true voluntary and active violence against Iran, against America.
Is there really a Matrix 4 coming out? They're talking about a Matrix in there.
I'm in it. I'm in the Matrix 4.
Mm.
I'm Neo.
You're Neo? No, we got a Neo out here. You're Morpheus.
Yeah. They call me the Black Pope.
Huh?
You call me.
What that got to do?
It's Morpheus, really. He's the Black Pope. You don't know the story about the Black Pope.
Oh, I don't. I'm sorry.
Because everything I've talked about, I talked to you guys about a year ago.
Snitches get cabinet positions.
Damn straight. Or you know what they get? They get luxury positions in Ukraine governments or Chinese governments in their oil and gas or energy sectors. It's the truth. And that's what people don't want to hear. And watch, the very first comment that I'll see is, you should stop vaping. All the intellectual property I've given you right now, they're going to say, you should stop vaping. Man,
so is the rate going to come before the budget? That make more sense to me.
Okay, listen to me. If the budget is totally convoluted, because we know al-Muhandis truly ran the government before Mahandi, it's truly convoluted because he included the PMUs inside of it. So we don't want to see the budget passed the way it is right now. If you're the new PM coming into place, the very first thing you're going to say is, stop that budget. I want to see it. They're going to actually see that they're paying a bunch of people that they don't need to pay, and that big deficit that you see is actually going to come down. When you should actually be paying the people you should pay. Release those militias, turn on your army, and do the right things.
Okay. I think that's it.
Are we done?
Are we finished or are we done?
If we get 500 likes on this video tonight, I don't care, regardless of the views, I'll do the second half of this video tomorrow. I gotta go to it tonight and tomorrow. I'll do it by myself, babe.
Okay. I mean,
because I know you got stuff to do. So I can say, if you want the second half.
Cindy, I agree. That is exactly what I was saying in the video earlier today. Did you see my comment? You need a smoking jacket and an ascot.
Well, polo ain't good enough for y'all.
No, but it's fitting. So next week, think about it. You need a smoking jacket.
Let's order one. I'll order one. I'll find me a velvet jacket and an ascot. I'll find one tonight.
Just find a scarf and put it, and then the jacket, the smoking jacket. Well, you got silk scarf. Anyway. Okay. Let's see.
This video was bomb.
When was the budget passed? Last year?
Yep. And the Financial Management Act, for everybody that doesn't understand what that means, is that the future budgets that will be paid upon future budgets not relied upon passing of a budget, but because it's of a federal nature. Decentralizing your government makes you as a government become federalized. It does not make anything about a rate change. Stop listening to your favorite guru. Sorry.
Okay. Is it still possible for the dong to come out first?
Mm-hmm.
Music to my ears.
It is. It is.
Neil says, see you tomorrow. I'm calling it now.
All right, give me 500 likes. I'm doing it.
Morpheus and Neo tomorrow.
Do it. Give me 500 likes. Regardless of the views, I'm doing it tomorrow. There was such much love and respect on the last one. 500 likes is nothing. Give 500 likes from all these viewers, I'll do it.
Okay. Let's see. And plastic on the chairs.
There's plastic on the chairs?
No. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Your
Steve-O.
grandma. Yeah, your grandma.
Steve-O, grandma's chairs.
I got diamond studs on my chairs in my library.
They're not diamonds. They're just studded. You're funny. China and U.S. trade talks back up to today, phase 2.
Well,
Oh, look, Neil out there promoting. He's like, come on, peeps, let's get the 500.
500 likes, man. I need it. I'll do the rest of the report. If not, I'll do a new report on next Wednesday.
Mike, crypto is the future. You see that Bitcoin taking off? It's like 9,000 something. I read something today that they're like, this is it before it takes off. This is it. Michael Jackson, this is it.
Where my Zion oil people at?
Danny.
I flip my money. I'm out that deal.
Yeah, I don't know about Zion.
I flip my money. I'm out that
Seamus is
deal.
out there. He is Zion.
That's my dog too, man. Seamus my dog.
I got a little bit of Zion, but not much left.
I'm on to the next one.
Danny says, sorry, BB. I am not hearing that about the dong. All right, Danny. We'll see. We'll see who run into the bank
Man,
first.
the only hedge against a currency is a hedge. There's no hedge against currency against precious metal or crypto.
No, but he's saying dong or dinar.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying only hedge against a currency is a hedge. Meaning that if I'm going to hedge against a currency like the dinar, you can only hedge against a currency like the dinar. Dong, dinar, dong. Venezuela, dinar. You know what I'm saying? You can't put the hedge against a precious metal or cryptocurrency because you can't buy enough of it to make it a hedge.
Right. He was just saying. He's saying.
And I'm not saying
dinar,
that. I'm saying
dinar over dong.
I'm not. It's not an answer to his statement. I'm just saying in general.
Okay. Mr. B, I have a box Chevy with the interior to match those chairs. That's Steve-O.
I started with a box Chevy.
Sharon, XRP is at 23 cents. I keep hearing that it's gonna go to the moon. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm here for it. It's supposed to moon. Max Play, it hasn't happened yet, but it's at 23 cents right now. It's slow growth, but I think because they release so many, it's just slow movement, slow reacting. But the protesters gave them till Friday. That's Sammy.
500 likes by 4 o'clock tomorrow. I release the rest of the information.
That's right, Cindy. Dong first.
500 likes by 5 o'clock tomorrow. I release the rest of the information and the document.
Man, XRP's I'm not XRP. Maximum Play's calling XRP 800 per coin. That would be nice. Oh my gosh. Do you know how fat I'd be? I'd be rolling around here.
I'm saying right now.
My pockets would be so fat it look like they got the mumps. Like $800 XRP.
We done. This conversation is over. I'm done. Good night, y'all.
You know how to do it?